here's the last piece. Let's talk a little bit about the evaluation portion of the paper. We'll start with that, and then we'll talk about the overall framework one more time, expectations for the paper, and that sort of thing. So, evaluation. Often we think of evaluation as a systematic way of looking or analyzing something and then using information that we've gathered to answer questions about a project or a program. So for policy, for social welfare policy in particular, it's really about looking at it from a skeptical or critical point of view. So in the past, societally speaking, it used to be that we assumed a policy was good if the intention behind the policy was good. And so we looked at it as, well, we were trying to help people, and so obviously the policy was a good one. But now we're looking at it as, do we need to judge it a little more skeptically and critically than that? We need to use some analytical thinking about that. Because if we don't look at and evaluate a policy based on all these other things that we've talked about, historically speaking, economically speaking, looking at the social and political ramifications through that analysis, if we're not looking at it in this critical sort of way, then we're really not taking into consideration all the pros and cons of what a policy might be. Now, we can agree with the policy and still do a critical, skeptical evaluation of it, because there are always ways that things can be improved. And so the evaluation is really important to make sure that you are looking at it in this logical way. So I would really push you to go into your book and make sure you look at the different ways that evaluation can go. This is not your opinion. This is not, well, my evaluation of the program is that, or the policy is that I really like it, or we think as a group that it's great. That is not an evaluation. So go to your book, look it up. You're going to see there are different types of evaluations that are available to use this critical, skeptical, logical sort of way, and to look at your policy in a more critical way. Now, also remember, this is not an evaluation of the problem, and this is not an evaluation of a program. You are looking at the policy here. That is what you are evaluating. So do not talk about how you're evaluating the problem and did it fix it. Do not talk about the evaluation of the program and is the program functioning at its highest level or not. You are evaluating your policy. Okay? That's the most important thing to remember when you're thinking about your evaluation pieces. Okay, so let's talk about your paper in totality. Okay? This is your overall framework. You now have a short lecture and some specifics about each one of these. Every single one of these has to be in your paper. So you need content analysis, you need choice analysis, you need economic analysis, you need historical analysis, you need either social or political analysis depending on which way you want to go and what you want to look at when critically thinking about your policy, and you need to evaluate your policy in the end. Okay? They do not have to be in this order, although it's nice to have the evaluation at the end because you're evaluating everything you analyzed. And it's nice to have content at the beginning simply because it's one of the shortest and it's sort of an overview. But you don't have to do it that way. If you have a better way of structuring it or a way that makes more sense to you and your group, a lot of folks start with historical to get the background first. So I'm not taking off points for it's not in this order. You can do it in whichever order makes sense to you as a group as you all are analyzing it. As far as your group structure goes, you want to think about not only who's going to write what sections. Remember, content and choice are shorter. choice, though, is very specific and has to be done in exactly the way that I described it. Okay? Economic is a pretty big section and has some specific things that you have to include in there. Historical needs to be written by someone who's not going to get mired in the weeds and make sure that they can give a really clear picture of historically what happened before and where we are now. Social and political, those are a lot of work. So, and the evaluation piece can be a lot of work. So just keep that in mind as you are dividing things up. There are only 3 or 4 of you in a group. So make sure that you divide things up in as equitable a way as possible so that one person's not doing a ton of work and other people are doing less, okay? The other thing to keep in mind is that you've got to have one person designated from the beginning who is going to pull all of this together into one cohesive work. You cannot have everybody writing their own section and not have one person overall edit it. One person needs to be in charge of that piece. So some groups in the past have broken it up into like a couple people will work together on a section, and then a person will write content choice and edit, and then another person will do economic, and another person historical, and another person social or political, and then the whole group does the evaluation together or whatever. But so you guys can figure out how to do that, but make sure that you've got somebody who's putting it together in a way that makes sense so that when I read it, I'm like, yep, this flows, no grammatical errors, APA was followed, all of that. Remember to use headings from APA. Once you choose what your headings are going to look like, you stick with those throughout the entire paper. Make sure you have a running head, make sure you have a cover page, make sure you have all of your references outlined and quoted appropriately throughout your paper. And then finally, the paper typically is going to be between 15 and 20 pages, not including your cover page and your references page. So if it's a good, solid analysis, that's how many pages it's going to be. Because think about it. Let's say the 2 of these is a page and a half each, that you're up to 3 already. Then another 3 to 4 here, another 3 to 4 here. So you got 3, 6, 9, another 3 to 4 here. On the low end, let's say 12, and then another 2 or 3 here. That's 15. So you're looking at 15 to 20 pages. Please do not write me a huge novel, okay? Really no more than 20 pages. If it's 22 total because of your cover page and your references page, or 23 or 4 total because your references page is 2 pages long, let's say, that's fine. But really try and keep your content to between 15 and 20 pages for the final paper. Again, if you have any questions as you start moving through this, please let me know, and I would be happy to answer them. I can do a group phone call with with all the members of your group. We can do a group email if that's easier, or I can do a one-on-one phone call and you can relay back to your group, whatever's easiest for you all. Some groups have found it easier to do a Google document and work in the Google document. Other groups have found that to be a complete nightmare because everybody's changing everybody else's stuff. So you guys figure out on your own what's going to be easiest, what's the best way to get this paper cohesively done. Keep in mind, too, that once you're assigned a part, you need to keep up with what your group needs. You need to be on top of your own work. And you can use things like Zoom meetings, so you can talk to each other face to face. You can do phone calls. Everything does not need to be via email. But do not leave your group hanging. Figure out a way to make your group work together as well as possible. Once you turn in your paper, I do not have you do the percentages of which people did what amount of work and all that stuff, because that doesn't help me. What I want you to do is write me an email about what it is that went well in your group and then any challenges that came up. So if there was something that didn't go as well as you'd hoped, if there was one person who maybe didn't pull their weight in the group, those are things I want to know. And so just send me an email and let me know. If you don't have anything to say because everything went great, as far as you are concerned, the group worked really well together, you don't need to send me anything. It's not an expectation and certainly not part of the grade. All of the grade is related to the fabulous work I know all of you will do on your social policy analysis paper. So if you have, again, any questions, please let me know and I would be happy to answer them. Otherwise, good luck.